Good noon, everyone, and thank you everyone for coming here. And I'm so glad that all the team member from Canine Storm is here. Thank you so much. And today I will present a brief summary of my study that I did as a image project. And this is effect of ballistic vest and canine on canine core body and skin temperature. And before going to the further slides, I would like to mention that the project was conducted in collaboration with an external industry partner who is Canine Storm. I will give a brief introduction about them in coming slides. So, here's the content. That's pretty basic content like introduction, background, objectives, a brief introduction about Canine Storm, material and devices that we used for this experiment, then subject profiles, experimental protocol, process flowchart, result summary, and finally conclusion and the future work. Before starting, I would like to present the introduction of our research. Actually, we all know that in last several few years, canine officers become an integral part for our law enforcement department. Right now in USA, only more than 200,000 canine police officers are employed. So this is a big number. And we all know they sacrifice their lives for the well-being of human beings, but they barely have very safety gears like human, right? So here's the necessity came of the ballistic vest for the dogs. Nowadays, though the demand of ballistic vest is increasing, but still some handlers are reluctant to put a ballistic vest on their furry partner because they think it might be a risk for heat stroke. And now, I would like to give a brief background why we feel that the research is very necessary for our society. Canine heat stroke is a very burning issue in police or military dog handlers because they love their dogs more than their child, I must say. And if you look for the clinical definition of heat stroke, it's basically when a canine dog's core body temperature exceeds 41 degrees centigrade, then their other central nervous system start to dysfunctioning. This is actually called the heat stroke. But the police working dog or the military working dog, they generally increase their heat while they are doing some exercise, training or work because of the muscle activities or work in a very mental stress. So this is very important to minimize the heat during the work or immediately after the work. As a result, I can say that the physiology of dissipating heat for the dog is quite different from the human beings. Human mainly rely on the sweat glands for dissipate their heats, but the dogs are totally different. They mainly rely on the panting to release their heats. And 70% of dogs' heat is released by radiation and convention, like panting, their ears, their nostril, and the paw pads. So this is completely different from the human. But still, some handler may think that wearing a ballistic vest may hinder the dissipation physiology of the dogs, and they prefer not to give any ballistic vest on the dog before going to the work. As a result, unfortunately, we can see in USA last 50 years, 3% of the work police dogs died because of the heat stroke in the line of duty. At the same time, 30% dog died from gunshot and gunfire, which is 10 times higher than the heat stroke cases. So I think this is the gap. We try to find out the answer to fill the gap. And that's the reason we want to do this experiment and see whether a ballistic vest is increasing the dog's core temperature or not. And now I can say the objectives. The main objective of our research is to verify the hypothesis of heat exertion while wearing a ballistic vest, then communicate the result to the handlers for the well-being of the dog, and then prevent the death caused by the gunshot and the gunfire in the coming years. Initially, we plan to only cover the core body temperature, but as a ballistic vest manufacturer, Canine Storm very often face a question about the skin temperature as well. Some handlers question that, oh, I find the dog's fur is warmer underneath the vest. So we decided we will also cover the skin temperature in our study. And now I would like to give a brief introduction about Canine Storm a little bit. Canine Storm is a leading ballistic vest manufacturing company for working dogs around the world from 1998. And they are now currently providing custom fit ballistic vests to the military and police working dogs for more than 37 countries. And I also added few other customers of Canine Storm like US Navy, US Army, US Marines, RCMP, Canadian Air Force, and so many. Now coming to the materials that we used for our research, at this moment 3 types of ballistic vests are listed in Canine Storm. They are aerial insult vest, patrol SWAT vest, and SAR vest. For our research, we used mostly the patrol SWAT vest, and this is the most popular vest right now. Now, I would like to highlight the devices that we used in our research. I already mentioned that we measure 2 types of temperature. One is core body temperature, and one is skin temperature. For core body temperature, we used a ingestible sensor capsule by HQ International, Florida, USA. The device was initially developed in collaboration with NASA with an accuracy level plus minus 0.1 degrees Celsius. Actually, the main mechanism of device is to when the capsule vibrates at the frequency level of the internal temperature, and it passes a very low frequency signal to the recorder, and then recorder just receive the signals, transfer the data, and store the data, and then present the data. And other devices that we use for measuring the skin temperature, that was a thermochron eye button, which is from Maxim Integrated, California, USA, and the accuracy level is plus minus 0.5 degrees Celsius. And this device actually contains a computer chip inside a small case, and they just store the data in their internal memory, so they don't need any recorder or any receiver for this device. And this device is also very popular nowadays for many veterinary studies and researches. I would like to share a brief description about our subject, our dogs. You can also see one of our non-trained dog one. He is here. He is a German Shepherd dog. And we try to cover as much breed as possible from German Shepherd, Bulldog, mixed Dutch Shepherd, Belgian Malinois, and also a pure Belgian Malinois. And we also try to cover wide range of ages from 3.5 years to 11 years old. And also we covered a non-trained dog, 2 non-trained dogs, and 2 police service dogs. Now the experimental protocol, I like to express my gratitude to Zim, who is the president and co-founder of Canine Storm. With his support, I can manage to design the protocol for this experiment. And for non-trained dogs, we tried to design the experiment in covering lots of conditions like indoor, outdoor, lots of ambient conditions like temperature ranges from 17 to 32 degrees centigrade, and relative humidity we tried to cover from 39 to 50 degrees centigrade, and also we tried to cover lots of different activities. Like someday we did experiment in some regular activities like sitting, sleeping, and someday we did experiment with some light activities like 6 ball throwing in 60 minutes. And one day we did experiment with intense activity like 15-minute track. And this is the experimental protocol for police service dog. It was done only for one day in outdoor condition in a hot sunny day. Temperature was like 22 to 26 degree, and the relative humidity was 50 to 56 degree. And it was a 15-minute track exercise. Now I would like to the process flowchart. This is not very complicated. This is quite of simple. At the beginning of every day, we started with preparing the device. We just started to initiate our capsule by removing the magnet from them and then inputting the serial number in the device, and then prepared the other thermometers and then attach them in the belt. And then at the same time, we also gave the capsule to the dog so they can have it, and then attach the other thermometer around their belly or chest. And then we start with the first condition with vest, then we attach the vest with them, and then monitor their activities for the designated time, like for 60 minutes, 35 minutes, or like 15 minutes. And after that time, we just collect the data. We just remove the devices from them, then collect the data and save the data. And we have to wait for them to cool down to go their resting temperature. And during that time, I used to check their internal temperature in every 5 to 10 minutes interval. Then when I find that they are again back to their resting temperature, then again we start our next next process with the opposite condition. Like if we start with a vest condition, then we start again without vest condition after the interval. And that's the pretty basic process that we followed in every day. Now I would like to the most interesting part. This is the result. Here is the result for a non-trained or pet dogs and a police service dogs. This is basically the average core temperature in each condition with vest and one is without vest. And I do a single factor ANOVA test, and I measure the p-value, and almost every cases we found that there is no significant difference between the dog's core temperature before wearing a vest and after wearing a vest. But only one cases, which is the working dog, we found there is a significant difference. That's because of, I want to explain a little bit here. That day we started the condition with without vest. The dog was doing the exercise without the vest in a very good way, and we wait for 15 minutes to calm down their resting temperature. And when they come down their resting temperature, we just put the vest on them, and suddenly we found a quick rise on their core temperature. Then we came to know from the handler that wearing a vest kind of indication for them that they are going for the work. So they are very excited and they are very alert because they are having some work to do. So we waited for the long time to calm down, but they are very alert and sniffing all around. So their core temperature was not coming down. So we have to start the second condition with a little bit higher core temperature. But later we also observed the slope during the exercise, the slope with vest and without vest, and we found the temperature rise during the exercise was lower where they are wearing a vest compared with any other vest. Though because of the time I cannot add all the graph here, but I randomly pick some of the graph in each category. Here is a non-trained dogs graph. You can see the red dot is the without vest condition and the blue dot is the with vest condition. And from the linear equation with vest equation, we can see the slope is 0.0203 and without vest equation is 0.0308, which is slightly higher than the with vest condition, which means during the exercise, their increased temperature was slightly higher when they were not wearing any vest. And this is same as like a police service dog. I put the four condition here, like a working dog and police service dog retired. Both they have without vest and with vest equation here. And each cases we found that the slope is slightly higher for the dogs when they are not wearing any vest. That means the temperature increased a little bit more when they were not wearing any vest. And I also did a slope difference significance test by t-state analysis in Excel. And here I find only 3 cases we find that difference is significant. All the other cases the difference is not significant. But I dig into the equation, linear equation, and find the slope of core temperature without vest was higher in these 3 cases. Which means while they were doing the exercise, their internal temperature increased a bit more compared with the vest condition. And here's the skin temperature result is almost similar like the core temperature. Only 3 cases we found the difference is significant. In each cases we find that the with vest temperature is lower compared with the without vest condition. You can see I have marked here. For example, like OD average HSI condition for dog 1, with vest temperature was 32.25, but without vest it was 36.63. Then here is the graph for the skin temperature, and here is also I added the linear equation. So we can easily compare the slope from this equation. With vest equation we find 0.16 the slope, and without vest it was 0.43. This is slightly higher without vest. And similarly for police service dog, we found from the equation we found that the slope is slightly higher without vest condition. And also I did a slope difference significance analysis by t-state in Excel, and I found that total 4 cases we found that the difference is significant, but in 2 cases I found that the slope of skin temperature without vest was higher. But here for 2 cases I also found that slope of the skin temperature with vest was higher a little bit, the skin temperature only, but the core temperature in every cases we found that the temperature of why they are wearing any vest is lower compared without any vest. And now coming to the summary, I would like to highlight in two parts like core temperature and skin temperature. The result of the experiment indicate that there is no significant impact of the custom fit canine storm ballistic vest on the canine core body temperature in any condition. We found every cases P is greater than 0.05. Although the police service dog, we found a little bit higher core body temperature because of their work excitement. But we also did a slope significance analysis for these cases, and we found that the temperature while they are doing the exercise was a bit higher while they were not wearing any vest. And now coming to the skin temperature, the investigation shows no significant impact of the ballistic vest on skin temperature for 6 experimental conditions. 3 experimental states significantly affected skin temperature with a vest versus without a vest. And these 3 cases we found that their temperature was lower when they are wearing any vest. All the cases are in a very hot, humid and sunny day, which means the canine storm ballistic vests were protecting the dog's skin or fur from the direct heat from the sun, and it keeps the dogs cooler. And now I would like to add the conclusion. Throughout the studies, we only used canine storm, custom fit canine storm ballistic vest. So the result of the present experimental condition do not indicate any significant risk of heat stroke from wearing this vest. And I would like to also give some suggestion for the future work, because we only had one day experimental data from the working dogs. It will be really very fruitful if we can collect more data from the working dogs. And the current study did not investigate the temperature recovery trend of the canine with and without the ballistic vest. The post-recovery exercise recovery temperature can be investigated in the future work, I guess. And also the most important thing, I think that we have to also look into the heart rate, like there is any risk of a heart attack with the elevated body temperature or not. So future worker maybe also look into the heart rate and there is any risk of heart attack related to the heat stroke or not. And here is my references. And finally, thank you.